Hello, everybody. This is Curious Corduroy, and you are listening to the Save Data Podcast. And today I am joined by Drunklock Holmes.
How you doing? That's long time listener.
Long time listener, frequent kind of guest on this channel that is, I don't know, kind of like a dump now.
I don't have to really keep up with it, you know. It's like once every like 8 months to a year. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's good.
According to my YouTube creator studio thing, it has been 8 months since we've made one of these.
It has been 8 months. It's
This
been
is
solid. It hasn't felt like 8 months, but it has been 8 months.
this is also like take number 5, take number
It's just
6.
it's like a mad case of deja vu right now, but that's
Yeah.
fine.
But as I was saying in our first take, it really doesn't feel like it's been 8 months. It feels like, I don't want to say it feels like yesterday, but it feels a little sooner than 8 months to me.
All right, a little aside. Are we really gonna make note of the previous takes?
Yeah, I don't care. I'm leaving all this in.
All right, all right.
It's character building. It adds character.
It adds character. Great. I can't wait until the civil war of this podcast. I'm on side Drunklock. I'm on side Corduroy.
I'm not even on my own side. I'm just in the middle.
I'm just gonna watch how it plays out from my side.
Yeah. So today on the podcast, we got two subjects. We originally had one, and that was to talk about the PlayStation showcase that happened, depending on when this gets uploaded, last Thursday. But
Yeah.
we did have some breaking news earlier in the week in regards to the Nvidia GeForce streaming service.
Giant leak just came out of them. Somebody, I can't remember the exact. How did they get a hold of it? Do you have that detail?
I don't remember the actual person who. They basically went into the GeForce database and were able to. I'm gonna sound like the stereotypical tech person on a like CBS procedural, but they like hacked into a mainframe and reverse searched the database and were able to pull a gigantic list of names of games that we didn't know were in development. Some of these games listed are kind of like, that makes sense. Others are kind of like, whoa, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, like
And
Yeti
then-
sighting.
Yeah. But anyway, he was able to somehow use the database and get a list of all of these names, and then he decided to leak it. This is probably one of like the biggest leaks I think we've had in gaming in a while. Would you say?
I'd probably say most comprehensive. Yeah, I mean, getting a hold of these are usually like you'll hear we have the statement that GeForce actually put out, but these lists are usually like pretty exhaustive, but they also include. This is why it's got to be taken with a bit of grain of salt. They
Yeah.
also include a lot of titles where they may be making assumptions on where things are going for the sake of just keeping things complete. But it is pretty exhaustive. We've got big titles, some of which are expected, some of which are like pipe dreams, across tons of different publishers, from Sony to Microsoft to like developers individually, like Square Enix and the like. So yeah, it's pretty large. It's rather
Yeah.
large.
It's an extensive list. We're not going to get into the entire list. I don't know. Kind of like talking about leaks is a little weird because like some of this stuff could have been, if it is real, some of these listings could be like a really cool surprise. And then other listings are just going to get people's hopes up, and then it's not going to happen, and then people are going to get mad. But I don't think I explained what GeForce actually is. GeForce Now, and it's essentially Nvidia's video game streaming service. So you can use it on your PC. I think it's on mobile. The
Their
Nvidia
Nvidia-
Shield handheld thing. So it's their answer to like a Game Pass or a PlayStation Now.
Actually, weirdly enough, they were actually the first ones smacking out with that. Their earliest versions were like streaming your own software that you
Mhm.
have, and then they eventually moved it to a larger, basically got a hold of a larger licensing deal to be able to have other games on it, which of course caused some problems because there may have been some controversy with some developers who are like, yo, I didn't say that was okay, and so they yanked their titles. But it was kind of an answer. They kind of saw the writing in the wall, and then with Amazon's focus specifically, with their oh goodness, the name is left
I
me.
think it's Luna.
Stadia. Or no, wait, who's Stadia?
Google
then?
is Stadia.
Google is Stadia. My
Yeah,
apologies.
Amazon, I believe, is Luna.
Yes, I mixed them up because I paid so little attention to either of them.
I honestly forgot about Stadia.
I did too until just now when I was like, oh wait, yeah, Stadia is the one that was like pushed it.
Yeah, you
And
unlocked
yeah.
a memory I forgot I had.
Yeah, which was just Stadia, just at all, everything including it. But yeah, that was basically their answer to that. I mean, because Sony also has their PS Now service. You mentioned Xbox has their Game Pass. As part of their Game Pass service, they do have game streaming with games that they curate and put on the cloud. So yeah, this is Nvidia's version.
So Nvidia did release a statement. The statement comes from Polygon. Nvidia is aware of an unauthorized published game list with both released and or speculative titles, used only for internal tracking and testing. The company said in a statement to PC Gamer on Monday. So Polygon got this from PC Gamer. Damn it. Inclusion on the list is neither confirmation nor an announcement of any game. Nvidia took immediate action to remove access to the list. No confidential game builds or personal information was exposed. So this kind of confirms that this is a legit leak.
Well, it's a legit leak, but it also more importantly, it confirms that that thankfully all this list was that, because usually this comes as like a part of, I don't know if you remember that, which was probably more comprehensive, but it was a big data leak coming out of Nintendo. It reminds me of something similar to that, except instead of including uncompiled games and people's personal info, this one was just safe. It was a simple listing, just a rundown of games that, like we said, feel like they could be logical, but also could be insane at the same time. Either or.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we're not going to go through the entire list because there's honestly just really too much on here.
Basically, the list is available. It's out there. It's not too hard to go ahead and bump into this list.
If you really want to find it, you can look it up on Google. Nvidia claims that they removed links to these listings, but if you look on Reddit, it's there. You can find it.
Yeah, it turns out Control-C and Control-V is still going strong in the year of 2021. You can't stop it. It's unstoppable.
All right, so in regards to the PlayStation Showcase, their theme was diamonds. Did you pick up on that?
No, I was too busy watching two fashion disasters play chess with living people.
Oh my god!
And then I skipped the ever-loving crap out of all the in-between videos because I ain't gonna lie, I crunched like a mofo. So when it wasn't a trailer, I was like, all right, moving. I skip.
Yeah,
Okay.
that opening sequence is something like straight out of Sony 2005's marketing.
I wouldn't go that far because there wasn't any toy babies that were being overcome by existential ghosts or anything.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. You gotta remember, I probably wouldn't say circa 05. I would probably say closer to later when they started to tame down a bit. It definitely reminds me of like a take on, because it reminds me of an old 360 ad. Actually, that's the first thing I thought of when I saw it. I was like, oh shit, like this actually reminds me of a 360 ad. Except theirs was a little bit more, not so much family friendly, but like tamer. But it was just basically, it was like a game of water balloons being played across the entire world. And I was just kind of like, I was like, okay, I can kind of see the inspiration. I get it. The ad made sense, but there's a tiny part of me. It's like, what has this got to do? And it's like, I had a great note. I had a great note in my notebook because for a second I was doing a live watching of it, just taking down notes as I played. And I said, yeah, top ones. Who's playing chess? Hot weird people with poor fashion sense. Play has no limits, apparently, including chess with odd people across the world. That's all it was. It's like that's what the tagline. Play has no limits. Look,
Yeah,
if you want to dress up as king and queen and play chess with living people, you can do that. Sony, we have a game for you.
It's like these people were the only people who could actually find and afford PlayStation 5s in this world.
Yeah. Or unlike be me, who is so desperate for either of them, and just the wrong console came into stock before the other.
Series
I may
X.
be slightly biased. Hey, when your whole library exists on the Xbox One, I don't know. I just made sense for me considering I stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys definitely look like the type of people that were in line to buy 5 of them, and they're now just laying down in all the money that they have from scalping the ever-living piss out of regular people.
Yeah, much like this section of the podcast, it went on way too long.
Yep, definitely.
It took up at least a good 4 minutes of the showcase.
Yes. Yeah, that was pretty much the entire beginning. To which then we got a nice little opening.
A nice surprise.
Yeah, forgot. Oh, what was the surprise?
I'm skipping the guy. I'm skipping the guy who.
Oh, you're skipping the guy.
The
oh,
showcase.
okay.
Yeah, that's not important. We're here for the games.
You were like, and a surprise. Like, oh, did I miss that? I skipped the guy. I was gonna leave this open for you to take up, but if we both skip the guy,
no, there was getting into the games. Get into the games.
There was a ginormous surprise that I am of two minds of. Yes, go ahead. You go ahead and drop that one.
Yeah. So we start off with a trailer that feels very Star Warsy. We see a Sith standing in the shadows. They activate their lightsaber, and then we see the mask. And it turns out it's a KOTOR remake, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Now, before we get into the nitty gritty of it, because there's not really that much information on the remake, um,
Mm.
I'm assuming it's exclusive to PlayStation 5. I can't find any info on it
Right.
coming to Xbox. I'm assuming it'll come to PC, but the trailer literally says remade for PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I saw that too. There was a few moments where it mentions that in the trailer. However,
Mm-hmm.
I have seen like some of their I didn't actually make note of it here in my notes here, but I did read that they are heavily emphasizing the whole, working with. Actually, I believe I have that. Yeah, right here. Apparently, they're working like very directly with Sony Interactive Entertainment. They referred to. I have an article from StarWars.com that had a bit of a rundown with one of the developers from it,
Mm-hmm.
and they said that Sony Interactive Entertainment was a creative collaborator on the project. So the reason I emphasize that is because Death Stranding, that was also kind of the case with their. I believe it was also with Sony Interactive Entertainment where they were a creative collaborator, but the idea was is that it wasn't really we saw what happened with Death Stranding making its way to PC. So this game may also have that type of mixedness, especially considering the original was an original. I haven't been calling it the Xbox One, of course, because yay Microsoft naming schemes, but it was an OG Xbox
Yeah,
title. So
exclusive.
yeah, well, I think it was
It,
exclusive at
it
the time.
it
It
came to
just came down to the
PC.
hardware. Yeah,
Yeah,
it did come
but
to PC.
it
Yeah.
console exclusive to
Yes,
Xbox.
console exclusive. So a lot of people are hoping and wondering that it might be a console launch exclusive for the
Mm-hmm.
PS5, which usually implies timed exclusivity.
Timed, yeah.
But right now everything's pointing towards it being a PS5 exclusive, which I'm of two minds about.
Yeah, for me, it's like I loved the original KOTOR. I played the crap out of that. I didn't play the sequel, but I'm really curious to see if this is
It
gonna
was
get
solid.
like a Final Fantasy VII remake treatment where like everything is different from the ground up. So like faster paced battle system, maybe new scenarios you can go through. That is what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, that's kind of what's being implied from that same article. Ryan Treadwell, who's the lead producer at Aspire, who by the way is overtaking this remaking business. They have a lot of history with the Star Wars properties. They've done a lot of porting both to mobile,
Yeah.
but very recently they did Republic Commando, Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, and Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast for the Nintendo Switch and PS4. Um, so they have a lot of tenure with that. Um, but I know that Ryan Treadwell, from who is the lead producer there, he has a quote from that same article. Our big goals are to bring the story to a modern audience and have it be just as impactful today as it was for players when it originally launched. So with that, and them mentioning that it's a from the ground up remake, I'm expecting something closer to Final Fantasy VII remake versus something like Dead Space remake, where it's like we've changed out the engine, but fundamentally it's the same game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's still not 100% set in stone if that old turn-based turn-based queue up gameplay
Yeah.
is going to make the jump.
That.
Let's just say it's aged a bit.
Yeah, it'd be hard to do that in this day and age. You know, I'd want something
Yeah.
faster paced, more not responsive, but just more like I can't think of the word
Look,
here.
you're trying to sell that you okay, so KOTOR is pretty much built from the ground up on the idea of the fact that your choices have weight and matter and
Mm-hmm.
can move you to the dark side or the light side. Let's be obvious here. Everybody either wants to be a awesome Sith Lord or a Jedi Knight. To do that with a turn-based one is it's gonna end up like falling a little on the flat side. So you need something to kind of make that punchy and like bring emphasis to just the story and make the gameplay as like straightforward as possible, but still
Mm-hmm.
be fun and entertaining. So I could probably see it being like remake because remake did a seven remake for Final Fantasy did a really good job with that, where they may have taken away the turn-based aspect of it, but they still found a way to kind of inject that feeling in to what essentially was real-time combat.
Yeah, that's
So
what I was looking for. That term, real time combat.
yes,
That's
yes,
what my
which is
brain was grasping for.
yeah, queuing up party moves. Maybe they do that. Have it queue up party moves while they're fighting.
Yeah, that
Something kind of
was
like 15
7
and 7.
Remake, yeah, 7 Remake's battle system I really, really love. It's the best of both worlds. If you want that turn-based kind of feeling, you can play it like that if you want. If you want the real-time combat, you can do that as well.
I definitely think they focus more on one versus the other.
Yeah,
I'll admit that the turn-based was kind of like, like a tongue-in-cheek, like, hey, it's still there, boys, but it's like,
it's
we
in there.
definitely don't want you to play that
Yeah,
way.
because when I play the game, I do a mix of both, depending on like how I'm fighting or who I'm fighting.
Or
Uh,
how in the corner I am.
yeah, sometimes I'll just open up that menu, pick the move I want. If I don't have it on the shortcut, it's great.
Yeah.
So it is probably going to be exclusive to PS5 and PC. That sucks for people who don't have PS5s or a really good PC. Um, for me, I'm lucky enough to have a PlayStation 5 and a crappy PC. So when that game comes out, I'll be getting it on console for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the issue. That one caveat that I'm finding hard to get over is that it's like, an original Xbox and PC title is
Yeah,
now coming out as a PS5 exclusive. I'm like,
it's weird.
yeah, I can understand formally exclusive titles going multi-platform and going back. 7 Remake, I'm looking at you. Because for a long time they were really pushing like, yeah, man, we're gonna be multi-platform, from now on Xbox is in. But then with 7 Remake, they were like, Sony only. However, it did for like 5 seconds, but it does not include on 7 Remake a stamp that says only on PlayStation. So
Yeah,
like that's something that we talked about with the leak, because 7 Remake was actually on that list.
yeah, it's
So
pretty much confirmed that it's coming to Epic Game
PC,
Store.
yeah.
Yeah.
But this one though, it'd be like having 7, the original 7 on the PlayStation, and then 7 Remake was announced as an Xbox Series X exclusive.
Yeah, that
And
would be
it's like,
weird.
yeah, that'd be one of those things where it's like, why in the world would you do that? Yeah, because both, I believe KOTOR 1 and 2 were OG Xbox exclusives,
Hmm.
not including PC. They were OG Xbox console exclusives. That's the phrase we used today,
Yeah,
console
console
exclusive.
exclusive. Yeah,
Yes.
if
Also,
7 Remake was exclusive to like Series X, I would be that meme where the person's wearing the mask, but you can see the tears coming from underneath the mask because they're angry. That
yeah,
would be
it's like,
me.
no, no, it's fine. Everybody needs their shot to be able to enjoy this game. Meanwhile, underneath, you're all like, yeah, I wish one of them were me.
Yeah.
uh, This our lists seem to be a little different. So, like, what one are you looking to bump into here? Like, because the next there was another one immediately after that, which I actually do want to talk about, just because of how interesting it is.
Yeah, all
Of
my
a di-
lists are in order. So,
okay, as of release, I'm seeing that now. Yeah.
mhm. Forspoken is not
Yes.
next. It's Project
No.
Eve. Project
I
Eve,
love
this one came out of nowhere for me.
my list is in order. Forspoken is not next.
Apparently, I can't
Project
read.
Eve.
I can't read. I can't speak and I can't read.
Project Eve. Project Eve. Oof. I think the only issue I have with that game is that it is definitely wearing its inspiration is on its cuffs.
Yeah, it's a
Very much looks like the games
very
that it
attractive Japanese woman. A lot of shots of her butt.
Korean
She's
actually.
Korean? Okay,
Yeah,
my
Shift
fault.
Up Corporation is a
Korean
Korean-based
company.
developer publisher. They're known for the mobile titles Destiny Child and Defense War. Destiny Child
Wait,
PvP game?
Desti-
No,
Destiny
not
Child?
Destiny's Child. Destiny Child.
That
I
is
see where you're
so
headed.
weird. Is Beyonce in there?
Oh, that'd be nice, but no. It is a bit of a gotcha game, so I mean, she
Okay.
could be. Inevitable crossover.
That needs to happen. If I don't see Beyonce speaking like one sentence of Korean for a commercial for that game, I'm gonna be upset.
I
It's
want it to be
there.
like I want it to be like that time she threw the baseball, where like you could tell she tried, but like that's as good as she's got.
Oh, I think that was Mariah Carey.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
whoops.
She
Sorry, these
she
some of these
throws
guys
it,
they
yeah.
roll together.
She throws it and it's like it lands like 4 feet in front of her, and then she's like, "Oops," and then walks away. Yeah, but like, what did you think so far of this trailer? Because there was a lot of action, very action
uh,
heavy.
I liked what I saw. I called it when I first started seeing it. I started watching the trailer. The trailer started up. Immediately I saw the camera angles we were taking. I'm like, oh, that's okay. All right, it's
Yeah,
gonna be one of those games.
there's a focus
Uh,
here.
but then after a little bit of watching, I'm like, this is on Unreal, isn't it? This I don't know what it is, but I can spot these from a mile back. Sure enough, at the end, it was developed on Unreal Engine. I'm like, do they get these things from a store or something? Like I swear. But I do like what I do like what I saw. The combat looks very punchy. It looks like it's kind of do not want to use this phrase because
Souls
saying it's
like.
Yeah, saying it's Souls-like has implications. One, it
Yeah.
annoys the piss out of everybody. But two, it just seems to be very, very focused on handling a handful of enemies and then large bosses,
Yeah, because
uh,
I'm
with
like,
incredible scale.
is this gonna be more like, sorry to use Souls like, or is it gonna be more like a Devil May Cry kind of thing?
Well, that's the fun part. I did take a look. I did take a look at both the PlayStation blog, little walkthrough of how it works, or not how it works, but how it was developed and stuff like that. They get a little rundown to get some details on it,
Hmm.
and it looks like some of the primary inspirations, and these are very obvious when you see it, are Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, and more importantly, and probably more aptly, if you watch the trailer, Near Automata,
Yeah, the
which
world looked very near like from what I've
yeah,
seen
it
from that game.
yeah. It's it it's not too bad. It's a third person action game. I think the only thing that really set me off was at one point I saw QuickTime events pop up, to which I was like, just make it a cutscene, man. Stop
Yeah.
doing this to me. But yeah, solidly I liked what I saw of the game.
Hmm.
But it's definitely not a game that like stands out and makes me go like, I need to
Yeah.
have this. Plus it's the
I would need to
first console
see.
title.
Yeah, I would need to see a little bit more.
Yeah,
But it is coming to
absolutely.
PS4, PS5, PC, and Xbox One, so it is multi-platform. Sorry, Switch.
Uh I have did I was about to say, did you catch that? Because I've seen it mentioned for that. However, I did have an addendum. Take it with a grain of salt, because the article I ended up getting it. I ended up digging a little bit harder, and it turns out they're referencing uh that the developer themselves is kind of putting themselves as a multi-platform developer,
Hmm.
and this is their first console title.
Hmm.
So we're kind of extrapolating the idea that it may be a console launch exclusive for the PS5, and then makes its way to other platforms as it goes.
I could see that.
Um, because I'd imagine you don't really want to come out swinging your first console title ever, and it's a Sony exclusive. Like, not anybody's exclusive. It doesn't
Hmm.
really matter
Yeah.
whose. Yeah, so I could see them taking like a really nice deal, because that's, let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, that's what console launch exclusive means. Is it means that I was slid $100 to release it for about a year on this console, and it helps because that's funds injected directly in. Like, it may make me grumpy, but it's funds injected directly into that game.
Yeah. Sometimes you
uh,
need
yeah.
those backdoor shady deals to get something going.
It's not even, it's not that big. It's not like you went back there, you got the stuff, and they hand them a copy of Project Eve, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know, for some people it might be drugs. Did you see some of those camera angles, man? Somebody probably gets
Oh
high
yeah.
watching that shit.
But
But yeah, it looks solid. I hope to see more of it, but not too much, not too much of a fire smoldering there.
yeah, I need to see more of the story. I want to know what's going on with
Yeah.
that world. But up next, I'm not crazy about Borderlands, so Tinytinas Wonderlands. The trailer was wacky, crazy, colorful. I think they used Baby Metal was the name of the band that had their
Actually,
song
yeah, I
playing.
believe they did. Yes.
But it looks like a more interesting take on Borderlands with like the
Yeah.
whole Dungeons and Dragons fantasy kind of vibe. Even though you're still
Mm.
using guns, it's very much that kind of feeling. It's not like wasteland, brown, grays kind of colors with the original Borderlands, which I tried to play that game and I was bored out of my mind.
It sounds horrible. I actually recommend you skip one. I know that's heresy coming from me, who's the king of saying, but one straight up is a flawed game. It's not
Yeah,
endearingly
it's
flawed. It is actually flawed.
yeah. I tried playing it by myself because nobody else was on when I was playing, and I'm like, I can't do this. This is I sold
Um,
it. I
I,
sold it
yeah,
to GameStop.
I suggest two and forward. I love watching my green arrows go up,
Yeah,
so it got me just on principle. But like, even I look back and I'm like, there were some great moments. Two capitalized on that, but one is, whew.
yeah.
But
That
no, it's
is it's colorful
It's
looking
it's
game.
it's look, let's be honest. Let's go ahead and cut to the chase, man. We're beating around the bush here. Let's clear it up. This is essentially Borderlands 4 to an extent. It's
Yeah,
it's Borderlands 3.5. There was a DLC, Tiny Tina's Assault on, oh my goodness. It was a DLC that was kind of like doing this D&D style thing.
Assault on Precinct
Uh
13.
Assault no. Although I'd pay for that crossover. Um no, there was a DLC for I believe it was actually Borderlands. Was it Borderlands 2 or Borderlands 3? I'm not too sure, but there was I apologize, I didn't catch up on that one. I kind of fallen out of favor with Borderlands 2 and 3. Actually, I haven't played 3. But from what I can tell, and the same problem that 3 had, is it's just a refinement of what 3's got going on.
Hmm.
Um with a mix of like magic and abilities, which kind of was already Borderlands MO. It looks like you said, it's more of like a color, it's more of a palette cleanser
It's more
instead of
interesting.
being,
It looks way
yeah,
more interesting.
let's be honest, it is a little bit more interesting. I mean, I think I still need to give 3 a shot because 3 seemed interesting enough. I just didn't get it because they're like $60 for Borderlands, and I'm like, I'm good. There was a lot
Yeah.
of big things at the time, so I didn't get it, which I may have to fix.
Yeah, if I had to use a food analogy again, because I'm hungry.
Mm.
Borderlands original is like a unfrosted vanilla cake,
Out of left field, just starts punching the shit out of Borderlands 1.
and Tinytinas Wonderland is like a funfetti cake with colorful frosting and sprinkles on it.
But here's the question. How much is just frosting and how much is actual cake?
Yeah,
There's where
yeah.
we'll need to see as we go. Because you can have a million guns in a bland world that's got nothing going on in it. And it
Borderlands
all's
one.
just for show.
Yeah,
Borderlands 1 had nothing for show. It didn't lie to you. There ain't shit here. Borderlands 2 was... I can't say that. Borderlands 2 was a great sequel. But from what I hear, Borderlands 3 was like, yeah, wow, it's Borderlands 2. It's literally Borderlands 2.
but for those interested, this will be multi-platform, so no
Yep.
exclusives going on here.
No exclusivity. Releases March 25th, 2022. Good stuff. I
Next up,
forgot to mention that with
the
Project Eve.
oh
No announced
yeah,
release
yeah,
date.
no date
Yeah,
yet. That's probably like a 2023 release maybe.
yeah.
But
If
the
we're lucky.
yeah. Next we have Forspoken,
Yeah,
Forspanken.
yeah. The game that Mike was so sorry. Corduroy was so. I just doxed you. Corduroy was so hype about that he actually brought it up before it was even supposed to be here.
Yeah, I got too excited. This was formerly known as Project Althea, which when people saw that demo, I think it did catch a lot of people's eyes. Like, what is this? Because it looks really cool, and it's being developed by the same team that developed Final Fantasy 15, if I'm not mistaken. Luminous Studios are the people
Luminous
behind it.
Productions.
Luminous Productions, thank you.
Yeah, I had to
Um,
correct myself even.
this is exclusive to PS5 and PC, so
Yep.
definitely Sony funded. Sony and Square Enix are shaking hands like crazy these days. Um, I actually really like this trailer. I know some people weren't too keen on the dialogue, but I thought the action looked really cool. I thought the traversal looked really, really fun.
Mm.
Anytime you give somebody like a rope or a grappling hook, it just makes traversal way more fun. It looks like story wise, this character comes from the real world. She's got a cat named Homer, and then she gets sucked into this weird fantasy world where she gets magical powers and like a bracelet that talks to her, and it sounds like Paul Bettany, but I don't know who is voicing the bracelet.
It gave me some Stephen Merchant vibes too. I even actually searched, and I haven't seen anything
Yeah,
concrete quite
nothing
yet.
so
So
far.
yeah.
But it looks really interesting. They showed a pretty decent amount of the game. I'm just hoping that it's not kind of like Final Fantasy 15's open world was, where it's massive, but there's only like gas stations and like one city here and there. I really hope it feels like a big populated open world.
Look, they just got to do what Final Fantasy 15 did, which was give me a ginormous off-road monster truck, and all's forgiven.
Yeah.
And I let it all slide because I'm like, finally, to hell with these roads.
Yeah, but it looks interesting. I don't recall if there was a release date. Did you catch that?
I did dig a little further. It turns out their current target is like roughly spring of 2022. Take that with a grain of salt because it seems right now the current MO of most studios is to say spring of 2022
Mm,
and then be like, did I meant winter? Did I say spring? I meant
yeah,
winter
I
of
would
2022.
say winter or early 2023.
Possibly, but we don't want it to step on the toe. Square Enix has got a lot coming out, so I'd imagine
Yeah,
imagine
there's
Forspoken's probably going to be slotted into some place that's kind of out of the way with competing with its own products.
now that I think about it, spring. I think I would lock that date in because we have
Hmm.
FF16 coming out, and then Forspoken, and then after that they're gonna get the train rolling on Seven Remake Part Two, which
Yeah.
I think we'll see stuff from that at E3 next
Uh,
year. So
but it looks fantastic. I like it. A lot of traversal, a lot of magic. I think one of the things that not set me off, but maybe go like, oh, couldn't get too far, could you? Some of the magic really behaves like guns, like
yeah,
third person action.
hmm
And so I'm willing to let it slide though, because if you can make it punchy as weapons actually are, it
yeah,
looks that's probably the best way to describe it. It looks very punchy, but it's not like Eve was, which was heavily emphasizing stylish action. This one seems to be a little bit more methodical.
yeah.
Um,
Because even if you look at Final Fantasy 15, using magic in that game, it's pretty sparse when you use magic, but it makes a big impact when it hits. It's really cool.
Oh, yeah. But this one I think might be going on the inverse side, where it's like probably I see way more magic than I do the melee. So
Hmm.
which is fine for me. We have no idea if it has any connections, by the way, to any other worlds. At the moment, it seems to be a full original product coming from them, which is
Yeah,
actually kind of exciting a little bit. Because what Square Enix has, what, how many original worlds going?
it's Final Fantasy. Whatever
Fine, they
world's
got
coming
Final
from that Final
Fantasy.
Fantasy is what they got going.
Yep. But yeah, it is designed specifically for the PlayStation 5. They claim Sony. They claim on the thing designed specifically for the PS5. So this isn't going to be making its way anywhere else. However, I did make a mention, and I do want to mention it here too. Is I'm kind of over the techno jargon of designed specifically to harness the powers
Yeah.
and unique feature set that the PlayStation 5. Dude, just tell me it's console exclusive. I don't give a crap. And same goes. I have a cheeky aside. Apparently, I didn't realize. I said that goes for you too, Todd Howard, with your Starfield. Xbox will
Yeah.
provide us with opportunity. Look, just say Microsoft owns you now.
They gave you
Okay.
a ton of money after they bought you. That's what it is.
Look, which is good, but it's like, please, you don't need to lie to me. I am over the age of 10.
So yeah, I'm excited for spanking.
Yeah.
Up
Also, in a,
next, for
oh,
spanking.
I was just gonna say. Also, an aside, it's also coming to PC. So
Yeah,
those of you who are like,
PS5,
this
PC.
is pushing PS5 really hard. Like they're really designing it. No, it's also coming to PS5, which really makes you wonder what the unique feature set they're referencing is.
Haptic feedback in the controller. That's
Wow,
probably the
we
unique thing. Built
wow,
different.
built different. Better.
Up next, we have Rainbow Six Extraction. The only thing I have to say about this is that it was originally called Rainbow Six Quarantine, but then they realized, hey, probably not a good idea to call it that, so they switched it to Extraction.
Yeah, basically think of Rainbow Six Siege with their operator system and the like, except it's for people that aren't really ones to deal with the heavy, like competitive PvP experience of Rainbow Six Siege. So it's kind of meant to be like a sister game to that, where it provides a PvE of going into these levels, uh, fighting off randomly generated. I say randomly generated, but randomly handed out objectives, and then
Mhm.
making your way
With
out of the
monsters,
level.
right?
Yeah, actually it's an alien invasion. I found out. It turns out.
Okay. Yeah.
I went to the drop page. Turns out it's an alien invasion. I had it originally listed as a outbreak gotten out of control. I wouldn't be surprised if that also was retconned.
Oh yeah.
And they
Not
may have been
not
like,
great timing.
let's go ahead and axe that one. Let's say it's an alien. But yeah, it's Rainbow Six Siege, but with PvE focus instead of PvP focus. Takes place in the near future. Operators from Siege actually make an appearance in Extraction. So January 2022, if you're looking for that. I really don't got anything else for it.
Multi-platform. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah, including last gen.
Yeah.
Everything in the toaster except Switch. Go to hell.
These next ones we can kind of just list them off because it's
No,
pretty
don't
bare
you do this
bones.
to me.
It's
Don't you do this to me on Alan Wake. No, no.
well, the only reason I say Alan Wake remastered, I'm not gonna say we're not gonna skip it, but this is the first time it's coming to Sony consoles.
Yep. It's Alan Wake Remastered, which is actually coming out soon, October 5th,
Hmm.
2021. You'll be able to see that here in a pinch.
And that
Um,
is coming to Microsoft consoles as well, right?
yeah, that's coming across all consoles.
Hmm.
First time, for the first time, and for good reason, considering Control recently connected the worlds of what is it? Recently connected the worlds of Control and Alan Wake
Oh
to be
wow.
under the. Yeah, they have the Remedy cinematic universe now. Um, but yeah, they've connected them with the AWE DLC, which I got a chuckle out of because I was like, how exact does Sony even know? Do Sony players even know anything about this game? Turns out I welcome to mouth. Here it is. It's being remastered not from the ground up. It is a baseline remastering, so
Hmm.
it kind of brings some of the models up a little bit, but they said they're working within the restrictions of the original engine and are essentially just giving it some beefiness and some upgrades that the new consoles afford them. Which unfortunately means it's not going to be a poster child for your fancy next gen console. There's no ray tracing, no HDR. Although on PC it's going to be using Nvidia's deep learning super sampling, so that's
Okay.
nice. Yeah, but otherwise it's a standard fare remaster. The important thing, as you mentioned, is for Sony players, this will be the first time you guys play it, and I highly recommend it. It comes highly recommended for me. I adore that game, especially its movie style presentation. because each level plays out as an episode with a beginning previously on Alan Wake, and then an end title or end credits scene with a
Yeah,
nice little close up. It's really nice. I love that game.
I still have my copy on 360, but I never finished it.
It's kind of rough because the stop off points are not only a great way to leave you with a cliffhanger, but they're a great way for you to set it down and just never come back.
Yeah.
Just like TV shows sometimes. They're
Yep.
like next time. I'm like not for me.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. But anyway, that's
Yeah.
pretty much it for this one. Comes out on everything you can think of: PC, last gen, current gen. Sony will have it for the first time.
Fall of 2021.
Fall
N-
of 2020,
n-
October
n-
5th.
Um, that was the solid date. Wow, that's pretty close.
Yeah, that's the exact date. Yeah. The only reason why I know is because I may or may not have it on my calendar to pick up. It's apparently only $30 too, from what I can tell. Or is
Oh
it
wow,
30 or is it 40?
that's. I would
I,
expect
s-
40, but 30 wouldn't shock me.
I think it might be 40. I may be misremembering. But so far listed on the Xbox store, it's listed for, I believe it was $39.99. I believe I'm being too generous when I say $29.99. The other ones though, or the other one we can absolutely glaze right the hell over. You go ahead and do that one.
Yeah, the game that just won't die, GTA 5 enhanced and expanded. It's coming to all platforms, but I think Sony and Rockstar did a little handshake for this one, so it'll be landing on PS5, I assume first.
Mm.
I've seen talks of exclusive features. I don't know what those are going to be. They haven't really talked about any of that yet, but it's
I think
GTA 5. It's Rockstar. They're going to make a ton of money. It refuses to go away. And now it's
yeah.
coming out on next gen consoles. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's pretty much the deal.
Up next, we have Ghostwire Tokyo from
Mm.
Tango GameWorks. I feel like we've seen a few trailers over the years for this game. Um, there has been a little bit of development trouble. The original game's director, Akumi Nakamura, she did leave
Yep.
during the project. Do you remember her when she first came out and introduced the game? She was so bubbly and likable, and she was
Yes,
just
she
so
was.
clearly excited to be there.
Yeah, she sold that game
Yeah,
pretty well,
so
pretty
so with
much.
her not being attached anymore, that's a bit of a bummer because she seemed like a genuine sweetheart and clearly loved what she was doing. But over the years, it kind of felt like we didn't know what the identity of this game was going to be until this most recent trailer, which gave us a
Mm.
really good idea of finally seeing our main character. It looks like we're playing as a young student, but also a lot more gameplay, a lot of hand-based Naruto hand sign gameplay kind of thing. And I think the vibe I got originally from this game, I thought it was going to be like a really kind of spooky Japanese horror kind of game, but it looks a little bit more action focused based on what we just saw.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you say that because my first thing when I saw it, because I'd kept up with the name minimum.
Hmm.
I didn't really kept up with much else, but when I first started watching this, I'm like, yo, is this just a video game version of Pulse? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, this what it feels like. Ghosts are now invading the real world, and you're a techno ninja that's annihilating them from one thread at a time. And there's a lot of rundowns with the gameplay. By the way, I went to the drop page as well as a few others, and they know that they're known because Tango GameWorks is known for the Evil Within series.
Hmm.
That was
Yeah.
that was their baby, and
Cult favorite.
yep, and with the studio head being Shinji Mikami, uh, or more well known as the creator of Resident Evil, you would expect some type of horror aspect. And while horror is definitely there in the art, the gameplay is definitely much more, um, like heavy emphasis on like hand magic.
Hmm.
That's literally the phrasing we can use. In fact, that's literally the phrasing they use a few
Hand
times.
magic.
Yes, hand magic, complicated
Gang signs.
basically that light people on fire.
Yeah.
Um, there's a note though. The reason why it looks so punchy though, I did not know this about. This was actually a twofold revelation for me. Um, it has Shinichiro Hara as as their combat director, which is the guy who handles pretty much the way the gameplay feels as you play. He was actually very instrumental in the push forward combat and glory kill system from Doom 2016, which I
Oh,
did not know. Yeah, so that kind of right there, the minute you read that part, you're like, oh, well, that explains it. Like, because if you're familiar with Doom 2016's gameplay, it's all about getting in the faces of demons and murdering them in very special ways.
yeah.
But yeah, it seems to be a bit of an open world from what I've seen. The story is obtuse to say
Yeah,
the
they
least.
still haven't said too much about the story just yet.
Yeah, the only thing I caught was like was a quick little rundown where it claims that a mysterious fog has pushed through a twisted version of Tokyo, causing 99% of its population to completely vanish. You, however, are spared by, and this is a quote directly from them, the visitors, a supernatural threat led by a masked figure known only as Hanya. And it's like neat. You've explained things that, uh, and I don't understand the explanations even. So it's going to be interesting to see more of this one. Uh, it is going to be a timed exclusive for PS5 though. Interestingly, it's one of the leftovers from before the Bethesda deal sold to
Yeah,
Microsoft.
there's another game later on the list that's in a very similar situation.
But we will emphasize very hardcore because Mike, or Curious Corduroy himself, is actually incredibly hyped for this game. He
Oh,
literally can't stop
I
talking about it,
I
man.
haven't seen enough. I need to see more. But we'll get
Yeah,
there.
yeah, we'll get there though. Don't worry. But
Up next,
yeah.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this one too because a couple months ago, Square Enix did a presentation, and I think it was like a 40-minute long presentation, and no joke, I think about 25 minutes was dedicated to Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, yes,
And
it
everyone
was.
was waiting for some Final Fantasy stuff. We got this instead. Um, I don't have an issue with the way the characters look. I know there's a lot of people who are like MCU or no, but I
Yeah.
just I only being able to play as Quill seems like a missed opportunity, even though I understand why they're doing it. But also this most recent trailer, I didn't get the humor. Um, there's one part in particular where this fantastical guy is explaining the world to them, and Peter pretends to have a heart attack, and the guy tells him to stop, and he goes, "Okay, I'll stop." And like
You
that was supposed to be funny.
you didn't see the background?
No,
Rockets digging in his little floating cube.
oh, I didn't see that.
that,
No.
that was the thing is he's faking the heart attack trying to keep his attention while Rockets like knuckles deep inside this dude's god cube behind him.
Oh yeah,
It's just floating around.
that was
Yes.
not conveyed to me at all. I
It was
completely
pretty
missed that.
obvious. He was just right there. Like you must
Yeah,
have been zoned in on that dude's golden visage.
yeah. But for me, it's like I think this game is going to be one of those swimming in sevens. It's not bad, but it's like it's okay.
Look, it's not going to be Marvel's Avengers, so
Yeah, it won't
like
be
I feel
no.
like that.
Oof.
I honestly, would you mention how long it was? I'm like, I honestly was like, I'm pretty sure they just really wanted to emphasize this isn't going to be Marvel's
Yeah.
Avengers. Like, I
Hmm.
swear to God, we messed up that time, but this isn't going to be it.
Like the
But
gameplay in particular looks a little bit more responsive. The frame rate, there's some frame rate issues, but it man,
well, considering it's coming out for every that by the way, that one is coming out as a multi-platform title. It
yeah.
was shown here at Sony's thing, but it's a multi-platform title that spans the PS. It's actually coming out for the Nintendo Switch.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so I'm curious. This game seems to be spanning the generations. Um, I don't know. I personally, yeah, I agree with you. That was too long. 20 minutes plus of a Square Enix presentation was Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, it
I
was
don't know
too
about that.
much. Too much.
Yeah. But I do think, on the contrary, I do think it's a good thing that they're focusing on, because what they want to emphasize, they're focusing on one protagonist for one, but they
Hmm.
want to emphasize that when you're playing as Peter Quill, you're supposed to be the leader of this ragtag group. And one of the stresses that the comics and the MCU dabbles in here and there, one of the stresses for Peter is the fact that at any point these people that he's got to banded together can literally say, you know what, screw all this noise, I'm leaving, and they could just dip. They could just step right off the ship and leave.
Hmm.
And so they're emphasizing that when there's some dialogue choices, but primarily it comes down to what they've emphasized both in that presentation and from the rundown I read, is that they're emphasizing that you make these decisions. You can take sides. Like there'll be times where fights either break out during missions or on the ship, for example, and you can take these sides, and it'll be kind of like the Walking Dead game, kind of like, so and so will remember that. Like
Hmm.
it'll sway it. And I'm wondering how far they'll go with that. Like, will you get to a point where Gamora says, you know what, S- to hell with all of this. I'm out. I'm not doing this. Or at the end, like literally, it's a situation where like Groot helped, but like one time you called him nothing but a glorified twig, and he's like, no, Peter, see you later. You know what I mean? And so I
Yeah.
can see why they want to emphasize that. And at this point, as much as I want multiplayer or co-op or something like that, we need to just remember that a good solid single player game can sell. So I am I am bum kicked, but at the same time, I'm not gonna let that get in the way. And I love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and I'm a little dabbled in the comics. So for me, when you were like, "I'm tired of seeing this," I'm like, "You're insane."
Yeah, well, you got to keep in mind, like I said, I watched that Square
Yes.
Enix press conference, and I'm like, oh my god, it's not over.
Yeah, it was. I admit, I'm like, all right, guys, come on, cut it here. Just show the trailer and move on.
Yeah. Up next, we have, I'm not even sure how you pronounce this. Kid Amnesia.
Yo, did you just skip Deathloop?
What's Deathloop?
Oh, you don't know?
I've never heard of
Good.
this game before.
Oh, good.
This
Then
is new to me.
here I am to sell you. No, I've got 3 trailers. Here, I'll send them to you. Look,
Oh my
we're gonna
god,
skip
Deathloop,
Deathloop.
this game.
We're gonna skip Deathloop for the most part. That game's literally out as of today. Today
Yeah.
currently is September 14th, I believe. Yep. No, it's September 15th. Came out yesterday.
Yep.
Uh, as of this recording, it came out the day before. It's already out. Again, it's one of the games that comes from Bethesda's pre-existing deal with Sony to release some timed exclusives
Hmm.
before Microsoft's acquisition uh, of ZeniMax, the parent company of Bethesda. Uh, from what I can tell, it's standard first-person shooter fare. It's a single-player game. You're plopped down in a world where every time you die, you come back and you got to piece together what the hell's going on. It's Memento the game, but with superpowers.
What
And
are we? Some kind of death loop?
what are we in? Some kind of death loop?
I feel like I
Oh,
gotta explain myself though with Deathloop.
I'll
I
let.
l-
Yes,
I
that pretty much. I've
literally
covered everything interesting. So
I literally have in my notes Deathloop in parentheses. I
yes,
got
that's
I got nothing against Deathloop. It's reviewing really well. A lot of people seem to really like it. I am just so tired of seeing it. Every
it's
single press conference I watched this past year had like 5 hours dedicated to Deathloop. And I still don't really know what the story is. And apparently, from what I hear from the people who played it, marketing did not do a good job explaining what the actual story of this game is. Because apparently, it's kind of different from what the trailers have shown it to be.
I I think it's supposed to be the joke. Unfortunately, the problem is the trailers go towards the realm of misleading versus being mysterious. You know what I mean? But yeah, I hear nothing but good things about
Yeah,
Deathloop.
it's reviewing
Um,
really well. Last I checked, it had an 88 on Metacritic.
which take that how you will, because some of
Yeah,
my favorite games 50 on Metacritic.
yeah, but I like I said, I'm sure it's great. I'm glad it's out. I don't want
Maybe
to see
one
it
day you'll play
anymore.
it.
I'm not gonna play it. I'm never ever gonna play it.
Oh, brutal.
I know games.
But
I've
but
seen
but
games.
I have it in here right here.
I've
Point
seen.
A. It's
I,
literally on the points. Literally Mike's favorite game. What do you mean you're not gonna play it?
oh
I
my
I
god,
made the notes and everything.
I almost went into a Trump impression there for a second. That's how fried my brain is from Deathloop. I know games. Trust me, I've seen games you've never seen before. I've seen games you've never heard of. I know the
Got
best games.
a lot of conversations with top people, the best people, best developers.
Believe
They
me,
know
I
engines.
know developers.
I am a developer.
But yeah, that's Deathloop. It's out. People are loving it.
It's out
But
on I believe it's out on I think
PC and
yeah,
PlayStation 5.
yep. While it's a timed exclusive, it'll
Hmm.
eventually make its way to Xbox, probably a year later. By that
Yep.
time, you won't even know what game it is.
Oh, they're gonna do another year of marketing just for the next gen or the Xbox versions.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna get pushed. You're gonna get pushed to your breaking limit. I can't wait. I
Oh
can't wait until
lord,
we try to record one of these next time. It's just you screaming.
I'm gonna be in a Deathloop. But to move on, up next we have I literally don't know how you pronounce this. I'm assuming it's supposed to be Kid Amnesia, but it's a play on the song Kid A from
Yeah.
Radiohead, and this is a collaboration between Radiohead and Epic Games. It's said to be a virtual exhibition coming to the PlayStation 5
Mm,
in November.
yeah.
So take that as you will. It's probably some maybe like a celebration of Radiohead in like a virtual capacity.
Maybe. I mean, Radiohead has some eldritch art, and their songs are incredibly surreal at times. So
Hmm.
I could see them taking it places. It is going to be a PS5 exclusive, but
Yeah, there's not really
honestly,
too
I'm
much
probably
else
just
on
gonna
it.
yeah, I'm just gonna probably catch it on YouTube. I
Yeah,
mean, it looks neat. Don't get me wrong, but not it's not making me like, wow, I regret buying this instead of that.
yeah. The trailer was really cool. It was really kind of like dark and mysterious.
It reminded me of Control, weirdly enough. Like I saw it,
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
can
this is a
see that.
Control DLC, and then it came up, Kid Amnesia. presentation, release date November, and then it said presented by Radiohead. I'm like, oh, so it's gonna be like one of those. Okay.
Mhm. Up next, I actually don't know how to pronounce this. I don't know if it's Chia, if
It,
like is the T silent
I'm not entirely sure. I haven't had it quite clarified
to
for me.
Chia.
I've looked. Let's get a quick little pronunciation, huh?
I would assume it's probably Chia.
I believe so. If I could. Oh, chi. Thanks for telling me how to pronounce chia seed. I don't need to
Yeah,
pronounce that.
I'll we can look this up later. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure it's
I'm just
Chia.
no. Yeah, I'm just taking a look.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I don't seem to have a clarification. It might be a name, in which case it really just comes down to how it's pronounced in the game.
yeah.
But we'll just call it Chia.
I think this is PS5 exclusive. I couldn't find any info on it coming to other platforms.
Uh, I did manage to find some. It's coming to PC. However, it is going to bridge the gap. It's coming to PS4 and PS5
Okay.
when it finally launches. I believe it's confirmed to only be it's actual PlayStation exclusive.
All right.
So no timed exclusivity.
Yeah, but it looks really cute. It's like this open world, tropical. I kept seeing a lot of people compare it to Breath of the Wild, just because you
Which
have like a glider.
they have to really, it's starting to be a lot like the Dark Souls, the
Hmm.
Souls like.
This is
It's
very
like,
Breath of the Wild.
yeah, open world games existed before Breath of the Wild.
But it looks like a really fun adventure game. It looks like you can interact with animals and then like go into the animal's conscious or become that animal and like fly around as a
Yeah,
bird or like a crab or whatever.
yeah.
Um, Other than that, I don't know too much about the story, but it looks really cute.
Yeah, from what I could gather, it seems to be focusing on more like exploration and interacting with the locals. There's stories and stuff to come from that.
Hmm.
It's fully voiced in the traditional language of New Caledonia, which I'm not sure what it is. I got that off of the page that they gave. For some reason, they didn't put a name to the language. They said fully voiced in the traditional language. I'm like, that's okay. That's one way to do it. Subtitles are a must. But it looks great. I love the look. I love the look of it.
Hmm. Oh,
And
it
seeing
sounds
indie
great.
titles like this get pushed into the limelight. I mean, this is what happened with Unraveled. There's a lot of games that are pretty games and studios that are pretty much where they are now thanks to pushes like this. And I'm hoping that this one uh, gets some interesting coverage coming on. Claims to be inspired by New Caledonia, which is a small island in the Pacific, so that kind of gives you the idea for the vibe. But
Okay.
concerning the taking over people, it's like I think they said something like 40 some odd animals and then tons of inanimate objects. You could pretty much take over all kinds of things, and you'll use that to solve puzzles. And
That's
you could
pretty
pet the
cool.
crabs.
I'm gonna pet some crabs. Next, we have Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection coming to PS5 and PC early 2022. This is dope because Uncharted 4 is a fantastic game. I would love to go back and replay that. I haven't played Lost Legacy, so this is a chance for me to catch up and experience it on the PlayStation 5 because the Uncharted games look stupid good. On a base
Yeah.
PS4, Uncharted 4, like the fact that that game or even like The Last of Us Part 2 look as good as they do and run as well as they do on a base console is astounding. I can't wait to see how it looks and plays like on my TV on a PS5 or even on a PC like for you.
Oh yeah,
So
because
this is
that's probably where I'll get it.
yeah, this is part of Sony's push to kind of take some of their exclusives and put them onto PC, but this is going to be a bundle. So there are some
Yes.
people out there that are upset that their PS4 version won't get an upgrade um, to this PS5 version, but this kind of feels like an exception because it is a bundled PS5 version. Maybe I'm making excuses here.
I feel like you might be making just a teeny bit. I think
Hmm.
part of the reason why they may have avoided it is because, believe it or not, Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, was given away, not even in the form of, because this is how I played it, not even in the form of, or no, it was, my apologies, the original collection of the first trilogy was given away as part of during 2020 and a little bit of 2021, they were giving games away for the sake of like staying in and playing these games. I can't remember
Oh
the
yeah,
exact
it was
statement.
like the Play at Home initiative or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believe they gave, I forget which one was which, but I believe they gave Uncharted, I want to say they gave, but regardless, it was given away for free, be it
Hmm.
via PS Plus or otherwise. And it would end up with a Final Fantasy VII remake situation for sure. Because if you remember, there was a version of that given away for PS Plus. But at the same time, when the PS5 version came out, they were like,
Yeah,
your they found a way to handle the disc versions, but they're like the ones from PS Plus will not make the jump.
not
Digital
eligible.
purchases
Not
will make
eligible
the
for that
jump.
upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I can kind of see why. However, when it comes from like a technical standpoint, I haven't seen what kind of work was required because from what I can gather at the moment, they basically just like flipped the unlock switch on the 30 FPS and let it go to 60.
Hmm.
And then it was already targeting 4K as it is. So now it's just hitting that perfectly. The games look phenomenally as is. I really can't understand what exactly they'd be able to pull off. The
Yeah.
games already looked phenomenal as is. Maybe the similar thing they did with The Last of Us Remastered for the PS4 when it came out. Uh,
More
because
detail.
they notoriously use two sets of models. They have their gameplay models and then they have their cutscene models.
Yep.
When they made the jump to PS4 with that game, they use cutscene models for everything. So I'm curious if it's going to be a similar situation like that, where they use those high resolution assets that are usually reserved for cutscenes for the actual live gameplay. Um, However, asking for an upgrade of this is a much older game. This isn't a game that you accidentally or during a transitionary period got a hold of Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 did come out, what, 2016?
Yeah, it's been a
Uh,
while.
yeah, it's been a bit to ask for games like you've already gotten tons out of that Uncharted, and that game can already be found in like $20 or less bins for like PlayStation. I don't think that it's on PlayStation Selects, but you can find it for a reasonable price. To ask your copy to be upgraded to that is it even for me, and I'm the biggest stickler when it comes to that stuff, but even to me it's kind of like that's a big ask to just get that for free. So, um but yeah, it being packed into a bundle probably also has the name of the bundle by the way is Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection,
Hmm.
but it includes Lost Legacy and A Thief's End.
So our next game is actually really exciting because this one kind of came out of nowhere. They started off with the Marvel, I think it was Insomniac's logo first, and then Marvel, and everyone thought, "Oh, this has got to be Spider-Man." And we're in a bar. Tons of dudes are possibly dead, laying on the floor on pool tables. There's one guy left sitting at a bar with a cowboy hat. Guy shows up behind him with a knife, goes to try and stab him. We get a close up of these really bloody hands and knuckles, and you see the claws come out, and then we see the title Marvel's Wolverine. I am really excited for this. I love Spider-Man on PS4. Miles Morales was really well done, and I'm really excited to see what they're gonna do with Marvel's Wolverine. Like, is this gonna be all out there T-rated? Is it gonna be M-rated? What's the story gonna be like? I'm really excited because Insomniac has a really great pedigree and they've been on fire lately.
I do have thankfully you're wondering about some of these things. I do have just the teeniest little snippet that should tell you what you need. In response to somebody asking if it's going to be a mature title, if it's going to have blood, if it's going to be like a full size game, or is it going to be more like Miles Morales sized? Uh, Brian Horto, the creative director, does go on the record for saying that it's going to be a full size game with a mature tone. So take that with a grain of salt though with mature tone because you can have a really great mature tone and be rated T for teen.
Yeah.
But with a man who's got three claws in his knuckles, I would say you can't really get away with the T for teen. I feel like it'll probably lean M rated though.
You
I
can get
feel
away
like it
with
has to.
blood, but no dismemberment.
But again, three claws. I mean, if Logan taught me anything, it's that I didn't realize what I was missing out on.
Yeah.
When I watched that, I'm like, how in the world was I living with this before? Um, However, I do know why. I was wondering how exactly they've been cranking these games out. It turns out the guys who did Marvel's Spider-Man is a separate team that is working on Marvel Spider-Man 2.
Hmm.
However, the team that's heading Marvel's Wolverine is the same studio that's responsible for Spider-Man Miles Morales. So they've proven themselves with that one because Miles Morales was a fantastic little it's kind of like Lost is kind of like Lost what is it? Uncharted's Lost Odyssey or Lost
I think it was
why have I
Lost
suddenly
Legacy.
forgot its name? Lost Legacy. My apologies. It was a lot like Uncharted's Lost Legacy
Hmm.
in the sense that it has all of the same like polish and all the staples that you can get from that particular title, but in a much more compact entry, and that's what Miles Morales was. So they prove themselves there. I'm expecting nothing but good things from them. However, as a personal aside, I am a teeny bit grumpy because this is another brilliant Marvel property uh,
PS5
that is
exclusive.
now going to be Sony exclusive,
Built
and it's
different.
yeah, it's one of those deals where it's like I don't know, Sony wins, but the fans don't entirely do. Like fans of Sony do, obviously.
I
Um,
win because I have a
but I'm
PlayStation 5.
hoping, but I'm hoping to see that make its way in other places. Like I said, it's a little bit of a grumpiness, but
Hmm.
it's not really a like, man, fuck this. But at the same time, it's what, by the way, demonetized on YouTube. It's not a situation where I'm like, screw this whole noise. I don't want to deal with it. But it's one of those like, is there eventually going to be a point where we can get past this? I understand that these console exclusive sell things, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
can get on that all dang day. But regardless, taking that taking that whole bias and removing it entirely, I'm excited to see what comes from them because
Yeah.
I played Marvel Spider-Man on PS4, and that
Fantastic
was a
game.
very very solid, very fantastic game.
Yeah, I'm really excited. It's still really early in development. They
Mm.
did get a little cheeky saying that it's going to have cutting edge gameplay.
Ha, 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 ha.
They're targeting 2023 release, but I'm thinking maybe 2024 for that one.
Like,
Especially if it's still really early in development. Just like take your time. You guys
especially if
have a
it's paired
proven,
with this other game.
yeah, you got a proven track record. Let it cook. And to move into the next game, we get Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which looks awesome. There's a lot we can kind of infer from the trailer, but we get this voiceover. It sounds like Craven the Hunter is who I'm speculating it is. It's a guy with an accent who wants to hunt somebody. It's got to be Craven the Hunter. And I'm assuming the
That's the
story is
vibe I get.
maybe he's hunting Peter and Miles, but then at the end of the trailer we see Venom show up. He's going to be voiced by Tony Todd, which is really cool. And it looks like maybe Craven is hunting Peter, but then Venom gets in the way, so maybe they team up to fight Venom, or maybe Venom helps Peter and Miles. I don't know, but I'm hoping maybe there's going to be like some co-op going on because in the trailer they show some co-op attacks between Peter and Miles. Um, this is going to be awesome. Like we said earlier, Spider-Man PS4 was fantastic. Miles Morales was fantastic. So to see more Spider-Man, it's going to be great.
I'm hoping for something. I'm with you on a lot of that. I'm hoping for something that's like on par with like the original Raimi Spider-Mans, where this
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man 2 really comes out and just blows the doors wide open. Like the previous one was pretty large. Let's
Yeah.
let's not split hairs. I mean, by the end of it, we had a very big reveal of a group of people that, there's a handful of them. They were like what, a shy off from a six. But anyway, there's fantastic stuff that happened there. Tons of baddies were brought into the were brought into the fold. Um, there's a tiny part of me that's like, Venom, wow. But at the same time, I also know that Sony's kind of pushing for this as they're still like that was the next logical thing because they are pushing with their Spider-Man movies,
Yeah, and they did
and then
tease
with their
Venom.
Venom movie,
They did
yeah,
tease Venom at the end of the first Spider-Man 4,
yeah.
part
No, I
4,
know,
PS4.
but that's what I'm saying is like I know that Sony's probably trying to push that one because Venom they've got full creative control over, so it'd
Hmm.
be really nice to like have just like the year of Venom. However, the Craven the Hunter one that would be good to see because I don't think we've had the luxury of seeing a Craven the Hunter yet of any iteration. Actually, now that I think about it, aside from the good old fashioned TV shows.
The last time I saw Craven was in the first Spider-Man movie game.
See, I didn't play that one. I played two, the good one.
I think the Xbox version had like a Craven exclusive level, I think is how it was. And that's what I remember because I
Oh,
remember you fight him in a snake pit and I thought it was gross.
yeah, that's still that's been a hot minute. So we've
Yeah,
seen him in what, like five whole sides of a polygon,
pretty
and
much.
now we're gonna see him with the Insomniac in the Insomniac games sheen applied to him. I think I think that'd be solid.
Yeah.
However, I do have a small comment, a small kink, in the armor, um, of the co-op hopes. There was a PlayStation blog post when they were talking about what is it? Talking about how they wanted to giving you the rundown of the game. You know where they give you the jargon, the BS. You
Hmm.
know what it is. I call it the BS. Look, even my favorite games use the BS. Everybody uses the BS. But the head of franchise strategy actually goes on record for claiming this is how he words it. Like I said, take the it might be one of those we want to save it for later to hint at, but they say we're so thrilled to continue the journey of both Peter Parker and Miles Morales in their most epic single player adventure yet. And that goes on the record as a quote directly from them. So I want there to be a co-op. I'm hoping. I mean, it implied very heavily, but at the
Hmm.
same time, at the moment, uh, it's being billed as a single player adventure.
Yeah, I'm assuming you'll have chapters dedicated to Peter, chapters dedicated to Miles. Um,
Mm,
I don't know if there'd be like a hot swap feature like in GTA 5 where you could just switch to any character at any given
mm.
moment. But it'd be cool if they had like maybe if it's not in story mode, but like challenge maps outside of the single player for like co-op.
The challenge maps, development of the challenge maps is going to get in the way and take away from the main game.
Oh
Because
Lord.
I'm an armchair developer, knows exactly how development works. I'm sorry, I always love the canned response when people say, it'd be cool if they had a side mode, and somebody who, I don't know, read one Wikipedia article on development comes out and says that that somehow sucks every penny out of every other part of the studio. I'm hoping for something of the same too, but the minute you said that, I couldn't help but remember the people that go on about that. It's like that is not how that works.
Yeah.
But I digress. I hope for it too.
Yeah. They are shooting for a 2023 release date. Insomniac is pretty good about their dev times. And plus, they've already built a foundation for this world, for these characters, and how they control. So, um, I think 2023 is plausible. And it
Mm.
also kind of feels like maybe they're making their own tiny little MCU, but on the PlayStation brand. So maybe Wolverine shows up. Maybe he's got a cameo in this game. Maybe they hint towards him. You know, this they're building like a cinematic universe on the PlayStation consoles, and that's really cool.
Yep. If you
I,
spent the wrong $500, you're not invited.
yeah, and
Get
also
lost.
I think this is Marvel Game Studios really seeing how good Spider-Man PS4 was and being like, okay, we know you guys make great games. You guys can have Wolverine. And it kind of makes me wonder if maybe they've got a little bit of buyer's remorse with Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics with the Avengers game. And maybe they thought, maybe we should have given Avengers to Sony and Insomniac. But yeah, I
I
think
would
this is them just trusting them. Like, we'll give you Wolverine. We know you guys can do something good with him.
I'd probably decry it in the same way that I decry Disney buying everything, which is like after a single point, now I'm not concerned about the property. Now I'm like, all right, how much of a like cornered market do you want here, my friend?
Mm-hmm.
I still that it's a cheap blow because I still think it was like ulterior motives that ruined Avengers because like everything that isn't the live service part is fantastic. Everything about it is fantastic. It puts me in the same spot as like Spider-Man PS4 was. However, if it just weren't for that live
That live
games as
service
service thing,
aspect. Yeah.
yes, yeah, that's the only thing. I think the real thing that'll make him feel like there's buyer's remorse is if Guardians of the Galaxy comes out and it like is universally panned, and that's when they'll be like, okay, all right, well, never mind. I just hope that there's plenty of water puddles. I don't want another incident like Spider-Man
Oh, the,
PS4.
the Puddlegate.
Puddlegate, yep.
Our final game on the list God of War Ragnarok, which is coming, they've confirmed both PS5 and PS4 in 2022.
Yep.
So it's going to continue that Norse mythology, and they're going to add Thor. But the Norse Thor, not like the Thor that everyone's familiar with from the MCU, who's like super jacked and handsome. This is like grizzled, literally built different Thor. This dude is
Yes.
strong, and I made a note. He's being played by Ryan Hurst, which I only know him from The Walking Dead, but he was also in Sons of Anarchy. Um, so I know him from The Walking Dead. He played Beta, which was this gigantic, hulking guy from a group called the Whisperers, and they wore walker faces on their face, and they basically blend in with other walkers. But he's a really great actor, so for him to play Thor, I think he's going to bring that like big gravitas that the character would need. Um, and other than that, the game looks stupid.
I'm
Like,
sorry, just ending it with the game looks stupid. And I'm
it
like,
does.
how I don't know where you want me to build off this
I'm
because
just
I'm
like,
like, which stupid do you mean?
I'm dumbfounded at how impressive this game looks. You know, I saw some people saying like, "Oh well, it doesn't look that different from the PS4 version," but if you really look, there is so much more detail worked on in the way the characters look, even in like animations and the way they move, and it looks like there might be towns that you can visit with actual people doing things. Um, just to preface, I haven't played God of War yet. I have it on my PS5. I'm gonna play it after Tsushima, but I have played the first three games. But this looks insane. Like, and it's from
Yes.
Sony Santa Monica, and those guys are just. I keep saying built different, but those guys are great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got a lot of tenure, and that's the
Oh
same thing
yeah,
with Insomniac too, because I believe Insomniac's in tenure with the Xbox was that one weird wacko shooter, and that's it.
Sunset
Um,
Overdrive. Yeah.
yep, yep. Which I actually is like a guilty pleasure of mine. But yeah, that's where that comes from, man. You know, this much time seated in the Sony pantheon. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, you start to get comfy. Um, but this is the fun part about this one is it is a direct continuation of the previous God of War. It's not like the previous God of War was one of those like if you played the original trilogy, neat, you'll get a lot of things. You don't have to have.
Hmm.
Whereas this is straight up picking up. In fact, it actually kind of low key kind of spoils. Sorry, low key kind of spoils one of the ending or the ending one of the little details of the first God of War in its trailer. However, you won't notice it unless you know what it is.
No
Um, but
context
it
there.
but it looks fantastic. It looks to be getting a little bit broader. Obviously, that's the big limitation that's being gotten rid of with these new consoles is shrugging their shoulders and away go the barriers to these open world games. We see a lot of great moments of like advanced movement, jumping around, not jumping around, but pulling yourself up to other locations to continue duking it out. Uh, so I'm hoping for, like you said, towns, stuff like that, larger spaces to be in, be it peaceful spaces or even
Yeah,
fighting
like
spaces.
a world that feels lived in.
Yes. Uh, but yeah, it's gonna be. It is one of those games though that does bridge the gap. It was one of the games that was gonna be for PS5. However, a PS4 version is in the works. They'll be coming out pretty much simultaneously, and I believe they're following the same upgrade path that everything but Horizon is going to be following, which is $10
Yep.
to $10 at the gate to open you up to the PS5 version, which isn't too hard of an ask. It's just a matter of getting the jargon cleared up so that people don't like make mistakes
Yeah, it was
and think it's
confusing at
something it's not.
first, and
Yes,
some of the language Sony used was
not
I
ideal.
I can't remember how they worded it. It was like something. Was it privilege or something like that?
Yeah, it's
Um, s-
one of those buzzwords that you don't want to say when it comes to spending money. Privilege
yeah,
definitely like one of them.
yeah, but
Yeah.
Tsushima was the same way. 9.99 upgrade. FF7 remake though. Thank you Square Enix. They gave away that PS5 version for free. So all I had to do was buy the Yuffie DLC on that one. But
Yep.
I'm looking at the notes and there's one thing in particular I don't know if you want to touch on real quick before we end. And it has to do with some people complaining about historical inaccuracies
Mm,
in God of War. I
we
don't know
can
if you
have
want to
that.
hit on that real quick.
We can have that as like a little closing section. So one, I'm going to tell anybody who goes ahead and pulls the phrase historical inaccuracies when related to mythology. I'm going to need you to go ahead and take that whole opinion and just put that right up there, because you're using that as a vehicle for something else. And in
Hmm.
fact, there are some stuff here. So there has been some controversy, two controversies. One slightly more important than the other. The other one is just I don't like that he isn't appealing. And you touched on it a bit. It was Ryan Hurst as Thor. But he's a few people, but he takes over as Thor, which is going to be fantastic. However, his portrayal as a large, portly man is being called inaccurate and what do they say? Unappealing. And it's like, dude, inaccurate? Like, dead serious. Thor was the man who, like, when he wasn't committing modern day like old like war crimes and smashing people with his hammer and killing them with his lightning, uh dude was eating and chugging meat like it was nobody's business. All right, this guy is definitely the definition of no cardio. All right, he was swole.
He's
so
strength.
was his so was his gut. He didn't have to run after these dudes. He just slammed them.
I should have saved built different for this section.
Yeah. He to take a phrase from Corduroy, I will do it for him. To take a phrase from Corduroy, Thor is a man who is built different. All right. This guy, when you talk to people that are bulking but with no cardio, this is the poster child.
That's a dirty bulk.
Yep. And it's fantastic. I saw it. I'm like, finally, here we go. Because he was pretty much like the model that most like dwarves were even based off of. And it's like, it's fantastic to see that. So people who are claiming that one, look, you guys are probably the same people that say Aloy isn't attractive enough, and I need you to just that whole opinion, that whole conversation there, just put it away. Don't even bother. You are making a fight over nothing, and it's only like 5 people in the whole group.
It's a very loud minority.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that particular one. The other one is probably
Uh,
spicier, and you'll have something for that.
I'll just say Aloy reminds me of a WWE wrestler. Who's really attractive. So I'll just say that.
People said she's not attractive. And you're like, dude, I don't understand what you're saying.
She's fine as hell.
Wait, do I see the attractiveness even in people that aren't traditionally attractive? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm a human fucking being. Pardon my French. But otherwise, art style wise, I like the fact that they're like, that's not attractive. All right, cool, we'll change it, and they just put more armor on her and less skin. But anyway, the only other controversy we got is the casting and art direction for Angrboda, who is portrayed in God of War 4 as a young black woman. Now, she's supposed to be a giant and the wife of Loki. But of course, people, once they saw her, as you do, screamed out that it was, once again, historically inaccurate to the mythology, and that they're somehow bringing politics into the game. Yes, classic stuff. One of the writers themselves actually commented on some of these concerning the inaccuracies. They said, his name's Matt Sophos. He's one of the writers on the game. He commented 2 examples where they also were technically mythologically inaccurate. Brok, who is a legendary dwarven blacksmith, they made them blue, and he talks like a foul-mouthed Texas prospector. And then there's Sindri, another legendary dwarven blacksmith, who he made grayish, germophobic, and aware of bacteria. They refer to them as tiny beasties. So it's like he's basically he puts like a little bit of put a little hammer on that at one. All right, if you're talking about historical inaccuracies, please attack us for all of them. It's not about historical inaccuracy here. That's not what you're mad about. You're mad about this other part concerning politics. And this one's just straight for me. The only people who make the claim that it's about politics are the ones who claim it's suddenly about politics. It literally wasn't until you brought it up. There was no politics in having this character be played and portrayed by a black woman. It does not matter. It literally just does not matter. This is a giant. You go find me a giant and tell me what racial background they come from. It's one of those things where it's like people making a fuss about nothing. A vocal minority coming out to try and tell you how something needs to be. And they need to just take that opinion, like I said before, and put that right back up there. Just shove it up there. Don't talk to people. Be angry. Don't speak. It's straightforward. It's the only people who mention politics are the people who don't agree with that and have now made it about politics. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You claim it's about politics, it therefore now becomes politics. And then when it comes to inaccuracies, it's a myth, all right? You want to talk about some inaccuracies, all right? You want to talk about mythological inaccuracies? There's one that's still, in a house that's being I'm trying to avoid the conversation in particular, but let's just say there ain't no such thing as white Jesus. So we got some mythological inaccuracies right here at home. So let's not even start. Let's leave them what they are.
Yeah, it's just a
mythological stuff.
It's a game. They write characters, take liberties. It's fantasy fiction, fantasy fun.
Yeah. Kratos isn't even real. I mean, that story doesn't even exist.
So that was pretty much the showcase and the leaks. We went long, like 2 hours, but there was a lot to talk about. True, we did have to restart on my end. So it's my fault. Yes. But there was a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. Is there anything else you want to say before we end this?
Not really. No, believe it or not, I may sound like an Xbox shill, and I may sound like the guy, who's obviously on the losing side. No, it's not about winning, guys. Okay, it's about coming together. I get it. But even though this is a PlayStation 1, and even though I am kind of miffed at about a few of these titles, I'm glad we're getting them in general. Like I finally reached a point where the platform wars is dumb. Like they're
Yeah.
just dumb. Anybody who's perpetuating those is a child in like real life, like genuinely. Even if you're 35, I don't care, child. But it's like when competition comes, we win. And honestly, that's the thing I'm hoping for this generation. An opportunity for Xbox to finally come through and like pull out the stops on theirs, because we all win when that's the case. I mean, there's things that Xbox are doing that Sony isn't. Namely, they haven't abandoned their previous their they haven't gone and said buy the next Xbox if you want the newest games. Like Sony is moving a little quick on that. That's a bit traditional. There's nothing wrong with it, but it is a little quick. Whereas Xbox are like, look, so long as any of the devs want to make those versions, they can. They're like, it's not up to us. But there's some things that Sony then does better. I mean, they already have a whole suite of cool shit to get into. So it's gonna be good. And then Nintendo does whatever they want in the corner, and that's a whole nother conversation, is the fact that Nintendo seems to be infallible, even though they make huge heinous mistakes every day, and nobody wants to check them on that.
Yeah, they
So
get a lot of passes.
that's a whole nother podcast into itself. But otherwise, no, that's about it. I'm super looking forward to a lot of these titles. I'm looking forward to more. I believe it or not, Ghostwire's actually got me. I was desperately looking to see if that was going to end up coming to Xbox eventually, and it is. So I was like, oof, I'll
Yeah.
get to experience that, because that actually looks cool as hell.
Just gonna have to wait a little bit, but it's coming.
Unless I decide to get it on PC.
True.
Who knows?
That might even be the best way to play it.
It usually is. It sounds horrible. but it comes with its own caveats, as you found out earlier with your Windows update.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add?
Oh. I'm really excited to start God of War. So that way I can get caught up for Ragnarok. And then obviously I want to see what Insomniac does with Wolverine. I want to see what they do with Spider-Man 2. I'm currently playing through Ghost of Tsushima again. I loved the Iki Island DLC so much that it made me want to go back and replay the main story missions. So I'm working on that. And then I'll probably move to God of War. But yeah, the showcase itself was kind of hit or miss at times, a little slow. But those last 10 minutes is when they started listing off bangers. And that's when I think it caught a lot of people's attention.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens when you save like your just Insomniac's presentation for last.
Yeah.
Insomniac. I think that's where we got the two big hitters, Insomniac and then Sony Santa Monica.
Yep.
Yep, that's basically where that came from. Those are the
Yeah.
two big bangers. And I'm gonna make sure to mail you a copy of Deathloop here.
Oh
Check your mail.
gosh. If I could wipe my memory of Deathloop, that would be great.
I'd wipe my memory. I could then appreciate it, but I'm so angry and so biased.
I'm just so tired of seeing it. Well, anyway, that's the podcast. I know we went a little long, but with some editing, it'll probably come in a little under 2 hours, maybe. But I am Curious Corduroy. You are.
I'm Drunklock Holmes, who also streams on the side if you're ever curious. This guy plugs it usually, but I'll make sure to get this up everywhere when it comes up.
Yep. You can find you on Twitch, Twitter,
YouTube.
Yeah, your
Facebook,
YouTube
but I'm not. You'll find me, but I'm not there.
Yeah. So I hope if people made it to the end, that's pretty cool. I'll try to get this up as soon as possible. But yeah, that was the podcast.
All right, take it easy, guys.
See you guys in the next one.